Hey, what's up YouTube? Kyle here with Backcountry Adventure Motorsports, and today I got my 2016 Honda Africa Twin, and I finally received my Touratech upper and lower crash bars. I got them right here. They've been on back order for about, almost a month. But I'm gonna try to do, I haven't seen any decent videos online about how to install these things, so I'm gonna try to do a quick little step-by-step on how to install these. This is, just to reiterate, this isn't gonna be my way. This isn't necessarily the way that everyone would do it, but this is how I think works best for me. So hopefully for those out there who need a little help putting them on, this will help you out a little bit. Sorry about the mess in the background. I'm actually moving right now, and my shop's kind of a wreck. But so anyway, let's get to it. First thing looks like we're gonna do is, so I got all my stuff laid out here. I got my tools, got the instructions, and got the pieces right here. So basically with the upper and lower, they come with the same brackets. You can see you got a pair of both right here. You're only gonna use one of them, but I have them both laid out just because I like to have everything laid out nice and neat before I get started. Get all the bolts laid out for each individual one. Tools you need, obviously you don't need any like real power tools. I have them just because it makes things a lot easier. But you need a 4mm, 5mm, 6mm, and an 8mm hex head, and then just a 12mm socket. And I also have, or the Allens, just in case I can't get into a spot or whatever. But I have never done this before, but it looks pretty straightforward, so we'll go ahead and get started with it. First thing you do is just take the factory skid plate off, and there is a, I believe it's a 5mm, nope, 6mm. Nope, it's 5mm Allen. So I'll go ahead, there's one bolt here, one on the other side, and then two right underneath here and here. I'll go ahead and pull that off. All right, so I got the skid plate off. Again, one bolt on the left side of the bike, two in the front, and I want to correct myself, there wasn't one on the right hand side of the bike. It's just this little tab that goes in there. Little piece slides in this rubber grommet, and it just comes right off. I'm just gonna set this off to the side. So what that does is kind of reveal, if I can get under here and see, these two bolts here that a bracket's gonna mount to for the lower crash bar. Another bracket will go right here for the lower, and that's also where the upper will marry together. And then around on this side, one bracket will mount here for the lower, and again the upper and lower will marry here and then go up here, and I'll get to that here in a second. So we'll start with the lower just because it looks like that's a little bit easier to mess with first, and then we'll move into the upper. But what I'm going to do first is, looks like you take these two bolts out on this side, and then again these two under here, and get to them right here. That exhaust is kind of in the way, and I'm really hoping we don't have to take that off. Might have to remove this heat shield just to make a little bit more room, but I'm gonna try to work around it. So as the directions show, we'll take those bolts out, and then we'll take these two mounting brackets. This one goes on the other side where the exhaust is, and then the other side, this side here, it shows here, it doesn't look like there's an actual bracket that goes on, and just take these bolts out and then sandwich that back in there. So I'll go ahead and do that. And on the top you have one of these brackets, and it's going to bolt on to here. And we're not going to use this spacer because this spacer is only used if you're doing the lower crash bar. It takes place of where the upper would also go in, so we'll just use the upper crash bar for that. So pull these two bolts out right here, 12 millimeter. Now that I got these two bolts out, what I'm gonna do is, so this is gonna mount up right here, and you can see this bolt and this bolt look like they're gonna come out, and this bracket is gonna go right there. And take the smaller 8 millimeter bolt. And nut. Throw it on. So go in the bottom hole. Let's see, I guess probably can't see what I'm doing right here. Move my camera a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna go in the bottom hole, and this is gonna go right in there. And then we're gonna take that 10 millimeter bolt, $10mm washer, your spacer that doesn't want to stay in, tell you what, that radiator hose is in the way. I know I said I wasn't going to film all this stuff, but I kind of figured gonna get the real deal here. If you don't like working on stuff and don't like doing things like this yourself, I'm sure you could, you can always pay somebody to do some of this stuff for you. Or you have a buddy maybe that can help you out. I really enjoy doing this stuff myself, and I mean, it's also, it would be fun to do it with a friend, I guess, but I'm doing this at night because I'm kind of a night owl. I work nights usually, and just it's kind of my time to get out and have some me time, chill a little bit. It's just relaxing. So got those two bolts in. I'm gonna go around to the other side and put the other bracket on, which is this one, and then the two nuts. Doesn't look like those require washers or anything. So again, dang radiator hose. Got the two bottom brackets for the lower and upper crash bar there, and so this one is going to go, oops, just like that. Now we can get this bottom bracket on here, but I'm gonna save that for the other, save that for last and do the other side first. It's a little bit easier. All right, so back to this side, left side. Again, this is where this bracket was. This one doesn't require, this side doesn't require any bracketry. So this is going to go on like that. This little cable's kind of in the way. Make sure not to pinch that at all. And then, so looks like they want you to use the provided nuts, or I'm sorry, bolts and washers. We'll get one started here. And then on this side, you're gonna put the bracket back on. Got all these hoses and stuff to run in there. All right, so I got these two, and I had this one up here just to hold it while I did that, but I took this bolt back out because now, remember these upper crash bars are gonna go in, and if you didn't have the upper crash bars, this spacer would go in, and it makes sure that everything gives clearance in there. But since we're gonna do the upper crash bars, I'm gonna leave this loose. Again, I didn't get, this is just hand tight. And I'm gonna go to the other side and put in this bracket. All right, so this bracket, these look like, oh, these look like 14 millimeter. So let me go and grab an open end wrench. I thought I had everything I needed, but I don't. So all right, so these, according to the directions, one, they're tight, but you don't need to pull these all the way out. You're just gonna, you guys are probably seeing nothing but motor right now. So yeah, loosen these up to get enough space to put this bracket in. Just like that. Not sure if you guys can see what I did there, but these two bolts, loosened them up, and then slid the bracket down in there. And now just need to make sure that's flush and tighten it back up. Again, not getting anything real tight right now, just because I want to make sure all the brackets are where they need to be. Take another 8 millimeter here. You guys are probably like, oh, no kidding, this is your first video. Another thing that I found that's kind of hard when making videos so far is I feel kind of weird talking to myself a lot, but I guess that's something that comes with the territory as far as making how-to videos. You gotta talk, and even though there's no one here to listen to you. So, well, I'm gonna leave that space actually because I want to put that in for the upper. All right, so I got the lower just kind of test fitted on both sides. Remember, again, I left these off because I want to leave a space to have the uppers go in. Now the next thing we're gonna do is right up right up in here, there are 2 bolts. Those bolts need to come out, and this bad boy is going to go in. 2 bolts you pull out go here, and then the uppers are going to slide onto that. Just like that. There we go. Yep, right up in there like that. So I'm gonna pull those 2 bolts out, and I don't think I'm gonna get a good camera angle on that, so I'm gonna stop the camera right now, but I think you got the gist of it, and I'll be back in a second. So I've got these 2 out. The top one has a nut on it. The bottom one, it also has a nut, but mine seems to be welded on there. So, so the hardware for this bottom, or the, I'm sorry, this top bracket, you get some hardware here, but 2 of your bolts are longer, so make sure and grab those. And as this shows here, they're going to go into that frame bracket. Make sure you grab your washers on there as specified. All right. So I'm not sure if you can see how I'm doing this, but we're gonna try. And if you can't see it, well, you get the gist of what I'm doing. And you kind of figure it out. I believe in you. Reach in there, and you have to use the original nut, but they give you a new bolt, just like on the other brackets. And again, just getting those hand tight. And that's where that goes. So you got your upper bracket for your upper crash bars. Man, all the bugs on this thing, I need to wash it. And then you have your lower bracket, which is also your upper bracket for your lower crash bars. And your lower bracket for your upper crash bars. So, hopefully all that makes sense so far. Now, let's mount up these upper crash bars, because that's really why we bought this kit, right? So you don't mess up these fancy fairings. Just kind of head back to some of the instructions here. Just to help you make some sense of this, the upper bracket, you're going to use the 2 longer bolts, as like I talked about. There's going to be 2 more bolts that we'll put in here in a minute that are going to mount to the frame, and there's, you show there's a spacer here. These 2 bolts here, you're not going to use these. These are the 2 that went into the bracket here. I mean, like I said, they give you this bracket for the upper and the lower, so there's a bracket here that we're just not going to use. Remember, we put these in earlier, but I just wanted to let you know that, because that way, if you're like, man, I got extra parts, that's what those are for. You're going to have 2 extra brackets and at least 2 extra bolts so far. So let's get these lower bolts in with that spacer before we mount up those uppers. And again, let's make sure we put on our, looks like it's gonna be these little guys, because those babies ain't gonna fit in there. You guys can't see what I'm doing. I need to get used to this camera. All right, so I grabbed a littler I guess the medium-sized screws, however you want to call them, and 2 spacers, 1, 2, and 2 washers. And you can see my phone, so I'm trying to see my angle here. But so there is 2 holes. I don't know if you can get in there and see those or not. There's a hole right here, and then one on the other side, and then these spacers go in between the bar mount and the frame, and then a nut goes on the back side of those. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do this with the camera, but we're going to give it a little try, I guess, and see how it goes. So I have mine up on a stand, and it's kind of helping me and hurting me in some way, because this would be a little bit easier if I could turn the handlebars left and right, just to be able to. So I got my screws here, and again, I don't have them real tight yet, but word of the wise, like I said, I put mine up on a stand just so I don't have to like bend over and land on the ground and all that stuff, and hopefully makes it easier. But it will make it less, at least on this side, will make it easier to be able to turn your handlebars left or right to be able to get your hand in there. This side was a piece of cake, but so now we got that bracket there, and we can take our handy dandy upper, and this is going to slide right into here, and then this piece feeds right into there. Just whoop, a little excited there, just like that. Stars align, I mean the holes align, and they go in just like that. So we'll take our other bolts we had earlier, and those will go in there. And again, I believe that is a 6mm. Six here. There's a little bit more snug. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Definitely seemed to be a little bit easier to put the front piece on first. Of course I say that, and of course I have trouble now. Well, it looks like mine has this little burr on it. Let me see if that's supposed to be there. Yeah, it's not supposed to be there. If it's a piece of slag or what from getting welded. Well, I'm gonna have to file that off. Come on, Touratech. Now it's on there and can't get it off. Yeah, definitely not on the other side. And there's not a keyway or of any sort. Yeah, you can see where it's rubbing. right there. Well, a little imperfection here on the Touratech, but not a big deal. That'll take 2 seconds to grind off with the file, and alright, yeah, literally 30 seconds of a file, and just to file that piece of slag down, and we slide right on. So top's in aligned, bottom holes are aligned. Take our 2 bolts, 2 washers. Again, 6mm. What did I do with that? Right in front of my face, of course. And get those started on there so we don't have anything fall off. All right. Now there's these smaller bolts, and we'll put the washers on those, and you guessed where those go. Up front on that bracket. And then again the 4 provided nuts. I like that these can be removed at left or right side. You don't have to remove the entire upper to be able to remove your fairings and do your air filter and stuff like that. That would just be kind of a pain. I know on some bikes in the past that I've had, I mean, just to do an oil change, I had to remove the skid plate and the crash bars just to get to the oil filter. So that was kind of a pain, but this looks like it'll be easier. And as far as mounting goes, getting this last nut on, that's really all to it. I mean, obviously put the skid plate back on, and I'll get to that in just a second, but they look good, and they look real good, and I think they're gonna provide a lot of protection, plenty of clearance between there. I mean, you have to take a pretty good bash to be able to bend that stainless steel. I will go through and tighten everything down. Remember, we got 4 brackets on the bottom, which are also motor mount bolts in the front, so definitely make sure and torque those down. Torque specs are provided in the instructions. I'm not going to go through and do all that. You guys can look at that. It's really straightforward, but yeah, make sure and tighten your bolts down in your brackets, and then tighten everything else down, and you're done. Go ahead and throw the skid plate back on with the 3 bolts and the and yeah, I was actually pretty impressed. This has been not near as difficult as I thought it would be. This would be a good time if you're getting close to your mileage to do an oil change, just so you don't have to pull the skid plate back off. But again, that's 3 bolts and not a big deal. Oil filters there, and then you have your drain plug right here. So I'll get back to you here in just a minute once I get everything all torqued and tightened down, and just get the last little shot, and back with you in just a minute. Alright guys, so there it is. Got the skid plate back on, got everything torqued down to spec and how it's supposed to be from, you know, per the instructions. So just wanted to kind of give it a quick little walk around and show you what it looks like. I really like them. I mean, they're super sturdy, at least, you know, from what I can tell. A couple things I want to reiterate. Again, make sure your brackets are all tightened down, and once you ride for a little bit, especially off-road, recheck everything, make sure everything's tight. And now that I have this off, you can see that by turning this here, it is way easier to get to those things. Again, check out my video for how to install this Hepco and Becker handlebar guards. They're super beefy. They connect here and then go into here on the handle on the triple tree. But hey, you know, thanks for being patient, watching the video. If you like it, please share it, and also check out my Instagram, Backcountry Adventure Motorsports at Instagram.com. So again, thanks for being patient. Thanks for watching my video. Hopefully you made it all the way through, and we'll see you next time. Sweet looking bike. Tell you what, Honda did a great job.